it's always been about the connection and the relationship between plants and people, and also plants and fungi, people and the more than human world. Basically, we know we're connected to everything else, like from our microbiome to, just the obvious emotional feelings that we have when we're out in nature, or what we learn from science. Like, we know this.
Welcome to the Herbalist Hour. This is where community gather, merging the power of people and the flowers, the sweet and the bitter to the salty, the sour. Umami, it's time for the Herbalist Hour.
All right, well, welcome Jesse Wolf Hardin to the Good Medicine Confluence Roundtable. I'm really excited to have you on. You're one of the main organizers of this event, so welcome to the show.
I'm so glad to be here again, and love working with you and love working with HerbRally.
Yeah, it seemed just like 2 days ago we were on a call for an hour and a half for the Herbalist Hour.
Oh my goodness, talking about everything in the world and a little bit about herbs.
I'm super stoked to publish that episode, but today's all about the Good Medicine Confluence, and we really want to highlight what this amazing event's all about. I'm bummed I won't be there this year, but can you tell the HerbRally audience what's going on at this event, what it's all about?
Oh, okay. My partner Kiva and I are so excited because it's the 13th annual Good Medicine Confluence, which is an international event with people from all over the world, but a cadre of people united by their sensibilities, by being not only herbalists, but culture shifters, people at the very forefront and the frontiers of human consciousness, of inhabiting our bodies, our place, taking care of the earth. And that kind of magical cauldron, I think of it as a potion, which each one of them is a special ingredient. For you to choose, however many you did of 45 different teachers is an amazing feat that I don't envy. Every single one of them could talk to us for hours, and hopefully we'll get on other HerbRally podcasts to talk to you even further. But they bring to the table, and I say to this potion, a special magic that combines the latest research and science on all manners of healing with what it means to heal ourselves spiritually and emotionally, and to heal the culture that we're a part of, and basically create a new culture anew. And that kind of greening has been the mission of Plant Healers since the beginning. When we launched Plant Healer Quarterly, the Good Medicine Confluence was originally the traditions in Western herbalism, back when there was hardly any conferences whatsoever about herbs. And that's then it became the Herb Folk Revival, and
the Herbal Resurgence Rendezvous.
Herbal Resurgence, indeed. And then back to Good Medicine Confluence, which kind of encapsulates it all, because it really is about not only bringing herbal medicine to the world, but learning how to have our lives be good medicine for us and everybody around us. So this year, we're going to be, for the first time, in an extremely wild, beautiful piece of nature. We have an entire nature retreat center to ourselves, July 18th through the 22nd. And that will be the 13th annual event, and 108 classes, massive amount of networking, full access for the attendees to all the teachers to talk about everything in the world, and celebration. It's an absolute essential celebration where we rewild our asses off for an entire night.
Well, one thing I really want to highlight is you said 108 classes, and knowing you, what you really try to do with this event is when the teachers come, you ask them to not only bring their A game, but also just some original class that they perhaps never taught anywhere, or something that's really on the forefront of their mind, and to push the boundaries. So just by looking at the teacher bios and what they're teaching, it looks like just an incredible lineup of classes.
Absolutely. Well, I want them to draw on their experiences and their knowledge, accumulated knowledge, which can be vast. But also, I want them to be teaching at the edge of their game, which is the latest things that they found out, the newest conclusions, upturnings of old ideas about healing, about plant actions, etc., where something that's keeping them awake at night and having them so excited they can't wait to get up in the morning. And that's what we want them to present. So I'd say if they propose what they do at other conferences, no matter how valuable it is, that's not what we're going to select. We're selecting from people who are happy to and excited to be presenting something like they have anywhere else. This is about an opening up of not only the attendees, but the teachers themselves to new ideas and new possibilities. It is very much so, and I say this in a grounded way, magic.
Yeah, I've been a couple times, and I have to say it's almost like this perfect encapsulation of the Plant Healer magazine and herbaria that's kind of come to life. You really bring like the magic element to it.
It's the greatest service and the greatest high of my life, frankly. It's allowed me to combine my, 5 decades of rewilding a wilderness canyon, of being an eco-activist, protecting biodiversity, habitat, plants and animals, and to fuse that with my own spiritual journey on this earth and my plant healer's journey. So to talk about healing in a way that's not just about fixing our physical boo-boos, about addressing conditions and diseases, but rather it's about coming into ease, back into self, back into the comfort of being an aware, conscious human being that's acting responsibly on this planet and making it not only healthier, but more beautiful. And that's the most exciting amalgam of priorities that I can imagine for myself. I feel greatly honored.
I love it. Well, just to say it up front, the event is July 18th to the 22nd at Lake George, Colorado. Yeah, I just want to say that it'll probably come up a few more times throughout the episode. But anything else you kind of want to say about the event?
It's a lot of times people say, you're coming for an education, and certainly you are, but you're coming for an experience. And we like people to think of it as an invitation to an open door in a magical enchanted forest. You're walking down a path you've known for all of your life. Everything looks the same. It all seems familiar to you. And then all of a sudden, you don't quite recognize that patch of forest. What is that flower? And you get down on your knees to look at it closer. Don't care how embarrassing it is to be looking at something on your knees like a little child. And in that moment, the forest opens up like the gates to some magical Tolkien world. And therein lies the return to wonder, the reason for life being so exciting as a kid, the reason that can fuel your purpose and your mission. And I want the confluence to be that. That requires a participation of everybody in the magic that they bring. Not only these wondrous teachers that I'm so pleasured, so honored to bring, but also every attendee becomes an essential element of what it is to recreate that magical world where nature is in our hearts, where we serve nature and it serves us.
Well, I'm so excited to meet a bunch of these teachers. I want to say there's probably 7 or 8 that are going to be on this episode today. You did a great job compiling all these amazing teachers and sharing their amazing knowledge. So hope you stay tuned, Wolf, and it's going to be an exciting day. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll get to our first speaker.
Yay, let's do it.
All right. Sweet. Well, our first guest for the Good Medicine Confluence roundtable is my good friend Logan Keister. How you doing today, Logan?
Oh, I'm doing quite well. It's a beautiful spring day. Got the shoes off out in the garden. Can't complain.
You're over there at Strictly Medicinals in Southern Oregon?
Sure am. Just cultivating plants.
Nice. Well, I know we're here to promote the Good Medicine Confluence. This probably will be out after the fact, but I know you're going to be at the upcoming Free Herbalism Project with Rich Ochek as well. Is that true?
Oh, yes. I'm going to be leading 2 plant walks at the Free Herbalism Project, and I love leading plant walks out there. They have a beautiful oak savanna, really amazing fire ecology work that goes on out there. So really, it's excited to talk about that ecology out there with people.
Heck yeah. So, well, you're making your rounds with the herbalism events, and it looks like you're going to be at the upcoming Good Medicine Confluence. Can you tell us a bit about some of the classes you're going to be teaching there?
Sure. So I guess the first one I'm going to be teaching 4 classes there, actually. So you could probably catch me every day of the confluence. I'm pretty sure. I think that's how it's scheduled. So if you want to catch a 4-time banger with me, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
So one of my classes is going to be on herbal formulation strategies, which is just a really great class for helping to understand herbal energetics and how we can make better formulas by understanding the concepts of hot, cold, wet, dry, and just really going on a deep level of assessment and how to create good herbal medicine. So that's always a really good one. I actually taught it yesterday for the herb farm interns down here in Southern Oregon, and it was really well received. I'm also going to be teaching a class on the history of astrology and medicine, which I'm really excited about because I've been teaching a lot about working with the planets, but one of my favorite things has just really been the history. So I can be really just scholarly academic sources on the real history that went on down there, but also take it from the perspective of someone who's practicing a lot of the ancient philosophies and the traditional forms of astrology. So I take it with a very open mind, even though I'm using very academic sources for this material. So one of my favorite classes because it's such a rich history. Another class I'm going to be doing is called Herbal Allies for Entheogenic Fungi, which yes, it is one of my more esoteric classes out there. But it was one I was inspired by my good friend Reishi Strauss. She was doing a class on how to combine different herbs, medicinal herbs with psilocybin and what times to use them and what were best and what kind of herbs she would work with. And I just thought it was a brilliant idea for a class. And she asked me for some ideas because she knew I had experience with it. And I asked her, I'm like, hey, do you mind if I do my own version of this class? And I've gotten a whole essay written about it. And it's something I'm just really excited to share because there's really not a lot of information out there on it. And so many people are excited about using psilocybin, but having little herbal medicine as tools is really useful. And I also go into like how to get into psilocybin experience for first timers and all that. So that's going to be a really great class. And then my last class is going to be mycoforestry. So that's a really fun one. It's going to be really talking about ecology of a lot of our mushrooms and really looking at a grand scale of just what roles fungi play in our forest ecosystems and how through having a deeper understanding of their biology and ecology, we can actually have direct applications in how we manage our forests and how we can be more sustainable in our gardening and our agricultural practices. So really excited to share some more information on that.
Well, I suspect this is going to be a theme today, but every one of your classes just sounds so original and unique. And yeah, I know that's Jesse Wolf Hardin's one of his main requests is for people to have like bring their like not just their A game, but just like some original classes that they may have not taught elsewhere. And it really seems like you're doing that with the classes you're teaching. Also, I want to say shout out to Rishi Strauss. You linked us up and she's done some work with us. She's a badass. And also
Totally.
I got to say her partner just recorded a new Herbalist Hour theme song for us. So I'm super pumped for that.
What?
So,
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
it's really sick too. I can't wait to share it with everybody. Yeah, Torrin Frost, he's awesome too. So I gotta say, so the Good Medicine Confluence is a bit of a magical potion with all of its unusual ingredients. How would you describe what you add to the spell?
Well, as you can just see from my classes, like they kind of run the gamut in a lot of different areas. And I see that's really my specialty is like, I've been really steeped in this Pacific Northwest bioregional herbalism, and it kind of stems like multiple fields for me. It's not just looking at the plants that I use as medicine, but it's the plants I use as food. It's also about the mushrooms that are also inhabiting the fungi, the roles that they're playing, also looking at the stars, the planets, very deep interest in history. Like, how did this all come here? How do we get to where we're at? And I really try to take my multifaceted approach and my very bioregional, just connected out there every day working with the plants and try to bring that out to people so I can just share that connection to just like nature and the natural world and just how much botany and plants and just connection can really enrich our lives.
Well, yeah, every time I take a class with you or go on a plant walk with you, I'm always inspired, and you always just continue to surprise me and impress me with how much you've grown as a teacher. And yeah, I'm just super stoked for you and that you're going to be joining the Good Medicine Confluence. I got to ask, this is your first time, correct?
Yes, this is my first time out at that confluence. I'm usually stay out here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm really looking forward to getting out to Colorado. It's been a while since I've been out there.
You're going to love it. Last time I went, the event was in New Mexico, but yeah, I hear the venue in Colorado is pretty amazing. Do you have any thoughts on what you expect from the event? Anything you're excited about particularly?
Oh, I'm honestly, one of the things I would be really excited to is go on a plant walk with like one of the local like herbalists and botanists and just really connect with the flora and ecology out there in Colorado. I really love that's going to be at a nature retreat center. They're going to be hosting multiple plant walks. So really looking forward to connecting some local botanists and getting explore out there. And I also just love just the vibe, the way they're promoting this, just with the connection to mythology and history. And just like, I love just like the elves and the like, guy strumming the lute on the poster from last year. Like when I saw that, I'm like, ooh, that looks like a cool Renaissance, like little party. I could get into that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, just letting loose and learning about some new plants and meeting some wonderful people and just getting to share.
Logan, you're absolutely gonna love it, and yeah, like the event is true to the artwork and vice versa. It really is a magical event. And there's the teacher lineup, as you probably saw, is incredible as well. So I'm gonna ask everyone this. I want to respect your time. It's already been close to 10 minutes. In just a few sentences, what do you consider the purpose or mission of healing to be, and why is it so important that people today learn and practice plant medicine?
You know, healing for me is more that it's like not about like a destination, you know, it's like there's not this point where you get to, you're like, yes, I'm healed, I'm fixed, I made it, like I'm perfect now.
Yeah.
It's really, it's a journey. It's like a medicine path. And I really like that idea of a medicine plant path or a plant path. It's something that we follow. And we're always working to kind of strive and build and grow upon. And, you know, it's really just, we're just here to learn, and healing's just really a kind of learning process about learning, you know, your body and the, you know, just treating, you know, yourself like it's an ecology, and trying to make your ecology match the ecology outside of you, and, you know, understanding, you know, the inner and the outer, the macrocosm, microcosm are so connected. So I really think, you know, just really recognizing that aspect of healing is really what gets you on the path.
I love that. That's such a humble approach, and it's a good reminder for all of us. So thanks for sharing. And I really hope we could get together soon. It's not going to happen on this trip, unfortunately, but next time we're in Oregon, let's definitely kick it. So always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Logan. Thanks so much for your time, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. It's so nice talking to you, Mason. Have a good one.
You too. Peace.
Peace.
Welcome to the Good Medicine Confluence Roundtable, and this is Ashley Elenbaas. So you're coming at us from Minneapolis, right?
That's right. Yep. Just outside of Minnesota, or right outside of Minneapolis in Minnesota.
Very good. Well, I'm actually really excited that we're going to be passing through your neck of the woods on our trip back to Wisconsin. So we'll get to actually hang out a little bit.
Totally. Yeah, that's wonderful. I was so excited when you reached out to me. I was like, that would be amazing. And yeah, hopefully we won't have any snow on the ground by then. It looks like we're on the melt. So you should get some green trees, and yeah, hopefully some things blooming when you arrive.
Well, we live in Appleton, Wisconsin, and we're hearing that things are looking good. So we're excited to make our way back to the Midwest.
Excellent. Good.
Well, very good. Let's jump into some Good Medicine Confluence questions here. The Good Medicine Confluence is a bit of a magical potion with all of its unusual ingredients. How would you describe what you add to the spell?
I love that question. I think, you know, for me, I love like a good clinical trial. And I also love Mary Oliver and, you know, Stephen Buhner and people who really live in nature. So I think probably what I think I might bring is an opportunity to blend both worlds together. I think both worlds have so many gifts. And so I think maybe, you know, because I like to speak so many different languages, both literally and metaphorically, I think that hopefully is something that I can bring and make all the things that I teach accessible to everyone.
I love that. And first of all, I got to give props to Wolf, because he's the one that wrote these beautiful questions down. I can't take credit for that. Also, I will say me and Wolf were talking pre-call that he was really excited to have you at the Confluence because specifically of your, like, say, nature connection. So I think you're going to be an awesome fit, and you and Wolf will probably get to nerd out quite a bit at the event itself.
I know we will. Yeah, for sure.
Well, awesome. What are the classes you'll be teaching at the Confluence, and can you briefly describe them to everybody?
Sure. Yeah, I'll be teaching 3 classes. The first one is creating effective herbal formulas. And so this is based on my 15 years as a clinical herbalist, blending formulas for clients. I used to have an apothecary where I had, 200 herbs, tinctures in all different forms, and I would have my students come and help me blend. And so, I'm going to teach people from all of those years of experience and training other herbalists in clinical formulation how to use very, really easy formulas once you understand kind of the layout, so that they can do that for themselves and for their clients. The second class I'm teaching is on bee balm, or Monarda fistulosa, which is a really amazing plant that Matthew Wood, one of my teachers, introduced me to. And it actually is one of the plants that brought me to move back to Minnesota, which is my hometown. Or my home state. So I'll be talking about the science, and we'll basically be exploring the plant using the science and the senses. So I want to kind of bring those together, another marriage of science and sort of ancient wisdom and body wisdom around that plant. And then the third class I'm teaching is an experiential plant meditation class. And my husband and I ran and operated a yoga studio and wellness center in the DC area for about 12 years. And I used to teach a class called Plant Spirit Yoga. So the idea for this is that people will be taking in a plant and will sit and do a meditation and sort of hone in, and then do some guided movement and artwork to kind of help us digest and also kind of come up with our own experience of the plant, and then touch into what maybe were they picking up in their experience, in their art, that actually relates to the plant's activity and what the plant has to say. So those will be the three things that I'll be teaching. And maybe the last one, if the weather's good, we'll be outside. But if not, then we'll be in some beautiful space indoors leading that.
That's so cool. I didn't really discover bee balm until I visited Wisconsin for the first time, in the probably around 2015. Do you almost think of that as like a Midwest plant? I'm sure it grows here in Oregon as well, but man, when I went to Wisconsin again last summer, I saw it everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like blue vervain, like both of them, like just they grow wild, like just even in my neighborhood, if there's just like Monarda just lines the pathways and the sidewalks even. And yeah, it is very much a Midwest plant. And I learned a lot of it from Matthew Wood's work with Tismal Crow, who was a Muskogee Native American, and a lot of the traditional uses of the Muskogee people. So, and I use it, I harvest lots of it and I use it year round for my family for various things. And so it's become a very close and dear medicine to me. And I just think it's an underutilized one. There's all these new medicines, and I have nothing against Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, but there's so many plants that are like here and in abundance. And so I just want to, this plant is a lesser known, I think, remedy. So I wanted to just give people a sense of who this plant is and how it can be helpful.
Well, I'm excited to work with it more. I'm totally enamored with it. Those flowers are just absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I'm excited to hang out with that plant a bit more. So for this year, at least, the Confluence will be at a forested nature retreat center. How does it feel to be coming together in Colorado and out in the natural world?
So amazing. I mean, I know a lot of us who are people. I mean, I'm a plant person first, and I'm a people second, but I can't wait to be around people, like physical human in the human body form. And just gather together to discuss and experience the plant world. So I think the location looks beautiful. I'll be staying in a teepee, which I'm very excited about. I'll be bringing my husband and my two girls, ages
Awesome.
4 and 7. So we're going to make this a family trip to be in nature and to be around other like-minded people.
Awesome. The kiddos could hang out with Wolfson then.
That's what we were thinking. Yeah. Yeah. I think they'll get along merrily.
Very cool. Well, in just a few sentences, what do you consider the purpose or mission of healing to be? And why is it so important that people today learn and practice plant medicine?
Well, I think a lot of us, there's a lot of spirit sickness, I think, of people that just feel really disconnected from themselves and from the spiritual world. And I think, to me, healing, if there's no connection to spirit and the spiritual world, then in my experience, healing is a lot more of a challenging process. So to me, I think in my mission and my work is to bring spirituality back into herbalism, and that is God by any name, but that there is some higher force that's super intelligent and organizing, and I think if we can align with that, and just simply by being in nature and taking in plant medicines, we can open ourselves to that spiritual force. And a lot of things that ail us, I think, kind of go away when we plug in. So yeah, that I know that's not 2 sentences, but that's the best I could do.
Well, we're here on a time restriction today, so I was going to say I'm actually really excited to hang out with you more and potentially, like, say, do a full hour-long interview where we could get to know Ashley a little bit more. But tell the audience where we could learn more about you and your work.
Sure. So I have a YouTube channel where I post weekly content where I do plant talks and yeah, things on spirituality and herbalism. And they can find me at Skyhouse Herbs on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Skyhouse Herbs. And then I have my website, which is www.skyhouseherbs.com. So those are the places folks can find me if they're interested in learning more.
Awesome. Well, yeah, HerbRally audience, if you like the HerbRally YouTube channel, you'll love Ashley's as well. Like your video production and sound and all that's just really incredible. So she does a great job. But thanks so much for your time today, Ashley. Looking forward to chatting more in Minneapolis.
Sounds great. Thank you, Mason.
All right. Thank you.
Talk to you
Take
soon.
care. Sounds
Bye.
good. Bye. All right, so welcome to the Good Medicine Confluence Roundtable. Abrah, you were just on the podcast on the Herbalist Hour a couple days ago, so welcome back. And where are you right now in the world?
I am right now in Ottawa, and I'm in the clinic where I work at in the city. So I work at home and I work here. And so I'm kind of downtown Ottawa. So pretty gray out there.
Well, I'm glad this worked out. Yeah, thanks for making some time in your schedule to speak with us just for a few minutes. So the Good Medicine Confluence is a bit of a magical potion with all of its unusual ingredients. How would you describe what you add to the spell? These are wolf questions, by the way. What
do I bring?
Yeah, what do you bring?
Oh, let me see. I bring a raven's eye.
There you go. All right. Well, what are some of the classes you're going to be teaching at the Confluence? And can you briefly describe a few of them?
Yeah, so I had to write them down. So here, the history of contraception in plants. So this is kind of coming out of my book, The Vessel, Plants, Contraception in Women. And so what we're going to do is we're going to explore really, in some ways, how I did the research for the book by going back in time and looking at how women talked about plants and the language women used for plants back to the 1500s in Europe, and look at some of those plants, look at old songs, look at old poems and how that information was transmitted, and talk about, seasonal rhythms. And so it's a juicy, controversial power for women discussion, and it will be a discussion.
I suspect that'll be a very popular class. And yeah, like you said, you wrote a whole book about it. And just for the HerbRally audience, Abrah was kind enough to record like a 30 or 45-minute podcast episode where you did a reading from it. So I'll encourage people to go listen to that as well if they want a little taste of the class that you'll be teaching. But yeah, what else are you teaching?
Okay, and then I'm doing a shifting perspective on anti-medicine. So, I really think that herbal medicine has adopted the language of reductionist medicine, using terms like anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antidepressant, et cetera, so I did a little historical search on all these words, thought about how herbalists have used plants before this language entered herbal medicine, and how that influences a herbalist thinking. So we're going to explore some of those ideas, and I'm really going to pick on the anti-inflammatory in particular.
Yeah, I'll say a Howie Brownstein joke. There's all these anti-medicines. Are there any uncle medicines too?
Antis are the best. I'm an anti, but no, this is ANTI, not AUNTI. Yeah, so I was like joking, like last night I was doing a class and I was talking, if they're saying the microbiome is a new organ, then we don't have like anti-brain medicine, and we don't have anti-skin medicine and anti-liver. Why do we have anti-microbial medicine? Like it just doesn't make sense when you really think about it.
So you're teaching 2 classes or any other classes?
And then there's a third one. Yeah, no, they're working me hard, and I'm doing the liver to live. And so like every plant you put in your mouth, that's the liver in some way. So it's really important to always tend to the liver. And I work a lot in chronic infection, and doing that work has really taught me to pay attention to the liver. So I'll be talking about plants and liver, and I love the liver. So love the liver.
Amen. Yeah, I'm really enjoying doing this podcast episode because I get to talk to like 7 or 8 different herbalists all in one day. But it's starting to piss me off because I'm realizing I'm gonna miss all these awesome classes. It's
Oh, well, you should come.
I really want to. Perhaps next year. But how about this? For this year at least, the confluence will be held at a forested nature retreat center. How does it feel to be coming together in Colorado and out in the natural world?
Well, that's like my element, so I'm happy. And I've experienced a lot of the Canadian Rocky Mountains. I haven't experienced a little bit like in Montana, but I haven't really experienced the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. So I'm totally pumped. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I'm just excited, see how the plants change, different locations, all that. Yeah, it will be wonderful.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, Wolf was telling me that everyone on the campus is going to be basically there for the herb conference. So that'll create like this insular special feeling. So yeah, jealous. In just a few sentences, what do you consider the purpose or mission of healing to be? And why is it so important to that the people learn and practice plant medicine?
Relationships.
Mm,
That's it.
mic drop. Boom. I love it. Well, anything else you want to say, Abrah? I should probably start shouting out where you can find people. We're gonna say abraherbs.com, and anywhere else you want to kind of point people to learn more about you.
Well, that's pretty much me. Other than you can find me on Facebook.
Yeah.
Abrah, Herbalist in the Woods.
And Abrah wrote 4 books, so you could find those probably on Amazon or website. Well, awesome. Thanks so much for your time today, Abrah. And yeah, hope you have a great rest of your day.
Okay, great. Thanks,
right.
Mason. Okay,
Take care.
bye.
Bye-bye. So we're actually teaming up with the Good Medicine Confluence to give away 4 tickets to this event, which is incredible. I was talking to Wolf earlier. I was like, oh yeah, let's do a ticket giveaway, this and that. And I was like, how many should we do? Like, 1 or 2? And Wolf's like 4. So we're giving away 4 tickets. All you have to do is fill out. So I'll leave a link in either the podcast show notes or the YouTube description, wherever you're listening to this. I'll leave a link, and that's going to take you to a landing page. And all you need to do there is basically fill out the landing page. It's simply going to be asking you for your name and your email address. And so that's going to automatically enter you to win, and winners will be selected at random. So we're just going to basically use like some sort of random number generator. All that we ask, if you do enter to win, is that you could realistically show up for this event, because it might be fun to like win a prize, but then if you can't actually make it to Colorado, well, we could have chose someone else to win for this event. So please only enter to win if you actually can join us or join them in Colorado for the Good Medicine Confluence. But like I said, we're going to select 4 winners at random. All you have to do is fill out your name and email address on the landing page that I create. Just click the link in the show notes or the YouTube description, wherever you're listening to this at. I will say this too, full disclosure. When you do enter to win, you'll also be signed up for the new HerbRally newsletter. And we send anywhere from say 1 to 4 email newsletters per week. And essentially all we're doing there is we're updating you on events and new videos and new classes that are happening all around the herbal community. And you could always opt out too if you're not enjoying the newsletter. So no big deal there. I did want to say the tickets are worth $469. So that's a pretty good price. So the ticket doesn't cover meals or lodging, so keep that in mind, but it'll cover, the masquerade ball, all the classes, and everything else that is associated with the ticket besides, the travel, the lodging, and the meals and stuff like that. But you could share a Verbo or an Airbnb with some of your pals, or you could even just camp for free, it sounds like. And you could pack a lunch too if you want. So yeah, keep that in mind. So if you like to enter to win a ticket, we're giving away 4. All you have to do is fill out the form in the podcast show notes or the YouTube description, and best of luck. I'll be sure to leave more details about the giveaway in the description below, all the legalities and whatnot, the things you got to cover. But yeah. Oh, and this just in, we're actually going to include with each individual winner that does win one of the tickets to the Good Medicine Confluence. Again, there's going to be 4 winners. For each person that wins the ticket, HerbRally is going to throw in a year of free HerbRally Schoolhouse, which is our membership site. It's $10 a month for membership. But so it's like $120 value. So we're gonna throw that in with the prizes as well. So 4 winners is gonna get a ticket to the Good Medicine Confluence along with the HerbRally Schoolhouse. You can learn more about the schoolhouse at herbrally.com/schoolhouse. But I know Wolf had a couple things to say about that as well.
Yes, well, I think it's important to point out that the giveaway of the tickets isn't just magnanimity, it's an opportunity for people who otherwise couldn't afford to come. So it's similar to a scholarship, but we don't hold anybody to a particular standard. It's just that if you probably wouldn't have made it, but it matters a lot to you to come for the education, the networking, the inspiration, then we want to help make it possible. And so it's really an educational package that we would like to give away here. And since it's working in tandem with HerbRally, I think the HerbRally Schoolhouse is an absolutely perfect gift to have with the event, because then you're talking about an entire year, be able to access herbal information, to network online with other people that are doing things, to find out about schools, events, and to further yourself on your plant healer path. So we would like this to be a gift to those of you who need it most, because you deserve it.
Here, here. Well, thank you again, Wolf, for upping the tickets to 4 total. And yeah, again, good luck to all of you out there when you enter to win. And right on. Well, we'll get back to these interviews now. So
Yay.
Well, cool. Well, welcome to the Good Medicine Confluence Roundtable, Inga.
Thank you.
Awesome. So is this going to be your first year teaching at the event?
Yes, so we did have 1 year where we did it just online, and I did teach then. I just did a video class, but this will be my first time teaching in person.
Hi.
So that will be new.
That's awesome. So what are some of the classes you're going to be teaching?
So I'm going to be teaching 1 class, and I'm going to be teaching, so my focus is on mythology and folklore behind various plants. And so the class that I'm going to be teaching is about anemone, the windflower. And I'm going to be talking about the mythology behind it, including, so there's a connection with Adonis and Aphrodite and the festival of Adonia. And that's something I'm going to be delving into and explaining during the class, including some of the, so anemone is a very specific sort of herb, and it does have a lot of toxicity if you're not careful with it. But there are ways that it can be used medicinally, specifically in cases regarding panic attacks and various anxiety issues. So I'm going to be talking about that as well as my own experiences with it. And I'm also going to be going into some of this stuff, archetypes, and how we can find our archetypes through plants.
Fascinating stuff. That sounds exciting. So the Good Medicine Confluence is a bit of a magical potion with all of its unusual ingredients. How would you describe what you add to the spell?
So I have a column on Plant Healer Quarterly, and it's called Persephone's Night Garden. And my whole thing is plants and the mythology behind them, and tying those 2 things together to give people a more in-depth understanding of those plants. So I feel like plants, like people, have stories, and my intention is to really explore the stories behind those plants so that people can understand the plant and come to know it on a more personal level. So I've done hawthorn and violet, and this issue I'm doing the windflower. And that's something I really want to express during my class, is how we can come to understand and connect with plants on a much more personal and a level that connects us to their stories and can reflect back to our own lives.
Awesome. And I just realized, since you have already kind of been on the call, I didn't really do a proper introduction. Can you kind of say who you are and your relationship to Plant Healer?
Yes, so my name is Inga Hardin, and I am the assistant manager for Plant Healer, and I'm also the daughter of Kiva and Wolf, who are the directors of the conference.
All in the family. I love it.
Yes.
For this year, at least, the Confluence will be held at a forested nature retreat center. How does it feel to be coming together in Colorado and out in the natural world?
It's going to be amazing. I've been to Colorado a few times, and it's absolutely beautiful there. I think this is going to be the most spectacular location that we've had as of yet for the conference. And I'm so excited to connect with everyone there, because to me, being at the conference is almost like connecting with a big family. And it's going to be so nice to be able to reconnect with everybody there out in the nature. And it's such a beautiful location. And I really look forward to being in Colorado again.
So in just a few sentences, what do you consider the purpose or mission of healing to be, and why is it so important that people today learn and practice plant medicine?
So I think that something that's really important here is understanding our own bodies. And I think that there's been a lot of distance from that. And we've been kind of encouraged to allow external resources to help us understand our own health. And I think we really need to come back to ourselves through medicine. And I think a great way of doing that is by connecting with plants, connecting with the earth, and connecting with ourselves and understanding our own issues personally on a more personal level. I think that there's a lot of a very personal aspect to learning plant medicine, and its own personal journey for each person who embarks on it.
I love it. And not just because Wolf is listening in right now, but I got to say, Wolf and Kiva did a great job with you. You seem like a really cool person. You're doing great work. And I got to give you mad props because I want to say the social media aspect of Plant Healer has been really like elevated a lot since I want to say you kind of took over like the Instagram and all that, right?
Yes, I did. I did.
Good
Thank
job.
you so much. Thank you.
Oh yeah. So dear listener, definitely go give Plant Healer a follow on Instagram. It's probably at Plant Healer, right?
Yes, it is at Plant
recalling
Healer on
correctly.
Instagram. Yes.
And yeah, I'll just use this as an opportunity to plug Herbaria as well. They're a free monthly publication. It's always like 1 million pages long, and they put so much work into it. And there's so many different contributors and whatnot. But it's like a free resource for the herbal community. I've probably subscribed, I want to say, for the past, I don't even know, 12 years or something like that. So great job. Great job, Inga. Anything else you kind of want to leave with the HerbRally audience?
No, I mean, I think that's everything. Like, enjoy your lives and learn plant medicine and have a great time.
Well said. Thanks for joining us, Inga.
Thank you. Thank you, Mason.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the Good Medicine Confluence Roundtable. Amy, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad I saw the email and made it.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Well, where at in the world are you?
I'm in California, Northern California. I live actually in Grass Valley, in the Sierra Nevada foothills.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So have you taught at the Good Medicine Confluence before?
Yeah, I taught last year. It was really great. A lot of fun.
Very
Super
cool.
sweet. Yeah.
So the Good Medicine Confluence is a bit of a magical potion with all of its unusual ingredients. How would you describe what you add to the spell?
Myself.
You're pretty weird, huh?
A little bit.
Me too.
You already got that.
Yeah. It takes one to know one. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I add, just like I feel like I have this mix of coming from a pretty grounded place, but I'm also like, I love, honestly, the magic of science. So I love science, but I love the magic that's in there. And so I also have this very spiritual connection to the plants, but also very grounded, real aspect to it. So like when I was, studying botany and everything, it was always like the botany teachers would be like, no, Amy, you're kind of going like off to the woo-woo side, That's pretty much what I am. I love both sides of it. And I love actually the combination that a lot of times that part is denied, right, in science. So
I gotta say that might be one of my favorite parts about the herbal community is the perfect merging of like, say, the science and the spiritual aspects. And I feel like we blend it so well together. I always say like some of my favorite people are the nurses who are also herbalists. I feel like that's a really good, symbol of blending the two. So what are the classes you'll be teaching at the Confluence? Can you briefly describe them for everybody?
Yeah, so I'm teaching one class is Calming the Spirit. It's herbs and practices for relief from anxiety, stress, and trauma. So I'm also an Ayurvedic practitioner. So I've been really incorporating, since learning from that perspective, it has just taught me a lot because, again, that's another part of, that's why I was drawn to Ayurveda, is that the whole spiritual aspect, but also they are just masters at realigning the spirit and the nervous system and digestive system, all of those things. So yeah, I'm going to teach on how to assess the anxiety, stress, trauma in our body, and practices we can do along with the herbs, because I found it's not really just the herbs, we need all of it. You know, it's the whole picture. So that's the first class. I'm also teaching the joys of oiling the body. So the benefits, applications, formulations of herbal body oils. Again, that is something I learned more so in Ayurveda. That's more of an Ayurvedic, or it comes from Ayurveda, but it is amazing, and it goes beyond just using vulneraries for the skin. It's you know, it's nervines and whatever you need, like depending on what you need. So there's different ways of looking at it, and I love that, and I love to kind of nerd out on it. So there's that. And then the other class I'm teaching is like an introduction to plant ID, based on, I love to go into the micro world of plants and show people down into the magical levels with the scopes and everything. But we're going to go into the magic and erotic life of plants during that class. So, you know, talking about plant reproduction, but how amazing that whole world is once you get in up and close, you know, pull back their dresses, whatever they're wearing. So yeah, those are the classes I'm going to teach.
Is it called plant porn?
I thought it was better to say the magic and erotic life of plants.
Oh yeah, that's much more poetic.
But I love plant porn. In general, we all like plant porn, right?
Yeah.
That's like a favorite.
I got to know, for the oiling class, are you going to be covering oil pulling, kind of like internal use of oils too? Or?
I will, yeah. If people are interested, of course. I am a big fan of oil pulling. I have had it actually save my teeth.
Wow.
Yeah, from having to have a root canal. I found out years later, he was like, actually, your tooth naturally did its own root canal, it naturally calcified, and that was hands down from oil pulling religiously, because I had knocked my tooth loose. Do not go roller skating on tequila. It's a bad idea. I learned that when I was younger.
First.
Yeah. But yeah, oil pulling completely saved that tooth. Yeah, so I will cover, you know, in Ayurveda, we like to put oil in all the holes. We put it in everything. So it's actually an amazing therapy that has been kind of mind-blowing since I've learned how to use it in all the different ways. So yeah, whatever people want to talk about really with applying oils to everywhere.
Very cool. Yeah, I would love to have you back on the show and just talk a lot more in depth about that. But this is all about the Good Medicine Confluence. So how would you describe the Confluence experience from what you've known or what you imagine?
To me, the difference, you know, or what I really like about the Confluence is it is more, you know, I love the misfit aspect of it, you know, you know, come as freaky as you are. I love the fairy ball. And I, you know, gave me a chance to wear my horns. And, and I love, you know, that it is that you can come, you know, a lot of people can come from a more humble place, but there are classes that are very top-notch all at the same time. I just really love that aspect. And there are a lot of areas that seem a little more laid back, but they're not necessarily laid back, but it has that energy to it. Yeah, so.
Very well said. And I want to say Wolf told me the other day, he's like, he might have been talking about Logan Keister. He's like, yeah, he's going to fit in, which means he's a misfit, which I really like that wordplay. So for this year, at least, the Confluence will be held at a forested nature retreat center. How does it feel to be coming together in Colorado and out in the natural world?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And to be out in a forested area will be even better. That's my favorite thing to do with herbalists, is to gather en masse, you know, together and be in the woods. So I think that's going to be add a whole other magical element to it.
Are you going to drive there?
I'm not, because I'm super busy with work this year. Last year I did drive there from California, and that is one of my favorite drives. That's why I did it. Definitely one of the most beautiful drives.
Yeah.
They're in the country, I think. So
Yeah. But you'll be flying this time.
this time I-
Yeah, there you go. So in just a few sentences, what do you consider the purpose or mission of healing to be, and why is it so important that people today learn and practice plant medicine?
I think the purpose of healing, I think to me, that is part of just our evolution in this life, you know, and that's part of growing as a person. The more that we heal, and, you know, maybe that is the purpose of life, is to heal the things that are not perfect in us, or the things that go wrong or get imbalanced, however you want to put it. I think, you know, by, you know, practicing herbalism or using herbalism and growing and healing throughout life, I mean, we just grow so much more on so many levels, you know, in the ways that we can even function in this world. If I was the health level that I was before I got into herbalism, I would not be doing any of the things I'm doing right now. I'd probably have been in the hospital many, many times, you know. So it has completely changed my life. And this is what my passion is, working with other people, is, you know, sharing this information so that they can have, I think it gives you a better quality of life, even though we may get more sick throughout. Not only that, but the plant connection. If you have that spirit connection, that's a whole other level of growing and feeling amazing and being more in yourself.
I love that. And yeah, so it's July 18th, 19th, 20th. I don't want to say 21st and 22nd. So that's going to be 5 days that you're going to be able to get to share your knowledge with other people, plant loving people. So that's going to be an exciting time. Can you tell the HerbRally audience where else they can learn more about your work?
Yeah, my website is schoolofbotanicalstudies.com.
That's a good URL.
Yeah, I don't know how I was lucky enough to get that one. And it was relatively not too long ago. My Instagram is Amy_Branum_. It's BRANUM. So yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, we follow you. All right, so go follow Amy. Thanks so much for your time today, and have a great rest of your day.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, so welcome to the show, Tatiana Eaves. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us for the Good Medicine Confluence Roundtable.
Yeah, thank you. Super excited to chat.
Where at in the world are you?
So I am based in Washington, D.C.
Very cool. Have you ever been to the Chesapeake Herb Gathering before?
Yes, I have.
I went like a few years back, and I absolutely love that whole herb community over there. It was such a fun event. That's where I like met Molly Meehan and all then. But this isn't about the Chesapeake Herb Gathering. We're gonna talk about the Good Medicine Confluence today. So with the Good Medicine Confluence is a bit of a magical potion with all of its unusual ingredients. How would you describe what you add to the spell?
That's a fun question. So as a human, I'm really multifaceted. So I'm a medicine woman, and to me, that means that I'm a healer, right? And I'm of deep service to Mother Earth, to all of creation. And my mission is that of caring for my community and loved ones with all the tools made available to me so that they can all walk in balance, live life in health and harmony and aligned with their purpose. And so like in that tool belt that I've gathered throughout my life thus far, and I like to call myself also a lifetime learner because I'm always adding different tools, but my tool belt right now consists of the fact that I'm a trained ecologist. I'm trained in Western ecology. I'm a wildcrafter, I'm an herbalist, and I'm also an interfaith minister and serve as a spiritual guide among so many other little things. And so in my work and my practice, I weave this web of connection between various ways of knowing. And I approach all of my work from this big picture view of body, mind, spirit, and like that connection and that connection we have inherently to each other and all of life, so that I can just meet people where they are along their journeys.
Oh man, I'm excited to listen to your podcast episode with Rosalie de la Forêt. You really have a lot going on there. I love that you bring kind of like this holistic picture to your healing work. So, what are some of the classes you're going to be teaching at the Good Medicine Confluence?
So I'm going to be teaching two really fun classes that I'm excited about. One is Sacred Reciprocity and the Personhood of Plants, and the other one is Energetic Communication, a Forgotten Language. And so that first one about sacred reciprocity will talk through the sacredness of all of life, like come back into that remembrance, and we'll explore how to identify and respectfully, with intentionality, gather and harvest wild foods. We will kind of start at the beginning, right, and discuss like how to stay in like right relationship with Mother Earth and our plant allies, and all the lessons that they have to teach us about that, about staying in right relationship. And then the second class, the energetic communication class, will focus more closely on how to communicate with plants and exchange information with them, really just like with any living being, honestly. And so we'll go deep into the language of energy and how we, as humans, we know it, we speak about it in more general terms in our lives, right? But like, how do we consciously engage in this language in this way, like internally with ourselves and with all of life, with everyone else? And this energy, it really is just the language of life. And once we remember this, we can access it for such profound healing and growth as well.
Wow, that sounds fascinating. I wish I was going to this event. Is this your first time at the event?
Yeah, this will be my first time at the Confluence.
What do you kind of expect from this event? What are you like anticipating?
As I was looking through the rest of the presenters and the topic of the Confluence itself, and just like seeing the broader community, I feel like I'm really excited and just inspired by all of the people, right? And all the beautiful work that has been done here already. And so I'm just really honored to participate and further this conversation and our connection to Mother Earth and the teachings of her wisdom with other beautiful kindred souls. I'm excited for like that connection.
Amen. And just out of my own selfish curiosity, you said you were like an interfaith minister. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that means that I have studied and I continue to study all of the major religions and just faith-based traditions and spiritual traditions across the world, and just getting a deeper understanding of where all of those practices intersect, right? Like, how can we thread this story of connection above everything? Because there's a spiritual base to all of the faith-based traditions. And that way, yeah, I can just meet people where they are in that web of connection and just kind of bring us all together rather than dividing us.
Can you come on for a full hour of the Herbalist Hour at some point?
Yeah, totally.
I would love to hear more about it. And yeah, so we only have a few minutes right now, but just as a joke, are you a minister in the Flying Spaghetti Monster, perchance?
No.
Okay. I just had to ask. Yeah, we'll chat a lot more about that when you come on the other show. But in just a few sentences, what do you consider the purpose or mission of healing to be, and why is it so important that people today learn and practice plant medicine?
Yeah, so personally, I believe in sharing this knowledge and the wisdom of the forest, right, to bring us all back into the remembrance that we have everything that we need within, that we have the ability to heal ourselves, that we don't need to seek external validation and authorities and happiness outside of ourselves. And I'm firmly rooted in the fact that plants provide that template for healing so that we can shed those layers of programming that tell us otherwise. So we can work with plants, get to know them so that we can remember that joy and self-love is like not only our birthright, right, but our responsibility for the collective healing of our communities and of the planet. And so overall, just to close that one out, is that my goals always are to bring forth that environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, and socially just human presence on this planet. And we will only do that by working collaboratively with each other to strengthen our connection to ourselves, to Mother Earth, and to each other.
Well, you gave me goosebumps, so that's good. Very succinctly said, and I love it. You're gonna have an awesome time at this event. I've been a couple times. I'm super stoked for you. I'm stoked for the community to get to know you a bit more. Can you tell the audience where to learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, so my practice is called Ecologist Says. So it's at ecologistsays.com, and that same name on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter.
Well, shoot, I don't think I'm following you out on Instagram, so I'm going to go do that after the call. But
Yeah,
well,
of course.
thank you so much for the time, Tatiana, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you bet. Take care.
Bye.
Well, thank you for joining us, Atava. Really appreciate your time. Welcome to the Good Medicine Confluence Roundtable. This is Atava Garcia Swaikiki, by the way. Where, or is it Swai? How am I mispronouncing your last name?
Swaziki. You almost got it.
Dang it.
Yeah.
I was about 80% there. And just for the HerbRally audience to know, I just want to thank Atava because you submitted, I want to say like a 30-minute video on the history of Mexican herbalism to the HerbRally audience. And I don't know if you know this or not, but that's one of our most viewed videos on our YouTube channel.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Well, I have a lot to say about that. But I'm glad we're finally there. The common interest is growing in the medicine of, what is our neighbor, and also what was very much, like this man-made geopolitical border, of course, that old, right? And so a lot of these traditions in Mexico are very similar, at least the Southwest, California. Anyway, so I'm really, really grateful that people are interested. And yeah, that's definitely one of my passions, is trying to really bring understanding, awareness about like how complex and sophisticated of a herbal tradition comes from Mexico. And if it hadn't been interrupted by colonization, it would be up there with traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda. And anyways, so
well, yeah, no, we can tell you have a lot to say about it. That actually is a nice transition to what are you teaching at the Good Medicine Confluence? Anything kind of related to what we're chatting about right now?
Yes, I was just reminding myself of what classes I'm teaching. Yeah, one of them is called the Art and Practice of Curanderismo. So, and I'll just define that in case people don't know. So curanderismo it's really a broad umbrella term, which really means the traditional medicinal practices, in this case that come from Mexico, but it's also used throughout Latin America, Latinx diaspora communities. So the traditional medicine, which in and of itself has many, many different roots, from the indigenous people of the places that it comes from the European influence through colonization and Catholicism, and through African roots of people who likely existed there before the transatlantic slave trade, and certainly once they're brought to the Americas, brought their medicine and traditions. So, curanderismo is just the traditions, and this workshop will focus on what comes from Mexico, Mexican American communities, because those are the ones that I've been a part of. So I'll be talking specifically, just at least in my understanding, some of the main concepts, the way we look at health and well-being, the way we treat our clients, which a lot of these practices I do think have a universality to it. But a lot of at least my experience about this medicine, and what really calls a lot of people to it of many backgrounds, is that really treats the soul and the heart, the wounded soul. We do a lot with treating things like susto, which is like a stress or a shock or a trauma. But so depending on the access we have to fresh medicinal herbs, we could potentially be guiding people in self-limpias, or like a kind of a cleansing blessing ceremony, which can be really profound, especially at doing in community and circle. But I'll definitely have an opportunity. It'll be for all levels, for people who maybe are brand new to it, or people who, it's something that was practiced in their family and their culture, they have familiarity. So there'll be many entry points, but hopefully some hands-on work, so that we can actually, the people who come can experience some of this medicine and action.
Will you be performing, say, limpias in the class, like with students?
I will teach them how to do self-limpias.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, which is, and the reason I do that, and I learned through teaching and making it, well, I don't know, mistakes. We just were like, oh, we didn't know that would happen. But what I've learned is with the Limpia ceremony, even if it's like I'm doing this demo in a class, like it can be really profound what it moves in somebody. So, people could, literally, I was in a workshop led by one of my teachers, Maestra Estela Roman, where we were practicing and she was demonstrating Olympia, and the energies were so strong in this person that they, for a while, couldn't move their hands, which is not uncommon. And I could talk more about that, but so I want to keep the energies contained and have, not have like a big healing experience happen that other people are witnessing. And maybe, because you want consent on all sides, right? You want someone to be comfortable with the space they're going, and watching someone else's healing process is also, people didn't necessarily sign up for that. So yeah, but I think with self-Limpias, which I actually think are really important, and this I think could be put into the whole like self-care, box of like, we do our daily meditation or movement, we drink our teas, like ways to just like maintain and harmonize and balance our emotional, spiritual energy daily, especially in this world where daily, I'll just speak for myself, something happens that throws me off balance, unless I just hide in a hole and never read the news and don't look at how crazy the climate is, right? Like there's just no way we couldn't be, unless you're, I guess, have no heart, to not be impacted by the world. And then, that's just the collective. And then of course, in all of our personal lives, there's all the challenges. So I think the self-Limpia is a really good tool. I always taught it in person. And then the last 3 years, it's been teaching them on Zoom. And it's actually been very surprising that guiding a group of people on Zoom through this process, they have energy moves, like, they'll report later, like there's a big shift, or is able to cry about this thing, or release some anger. It's a way to kind of like do our own little therapy, personalized therapy session, but with the plants, which are really the therapists, right? and the energy of the earth and the ancestors that we call into this space is really doing the work, right? We are co-creating with all of nature, all of the gifts that, the earth gives us. So anyways, yeah, so that's what we'll be doing in that class. And my other workshop is reconnecting with ancestral plant medicine, which is similar, because for me, my journey to curanderismo was a reconnection journey, like, because I have Mexican, Polish, and Hungarian ancestors, grew up pretty assimilated, not in a Latinx community, not speaking Spanish. So for me, my journey was returning back as an adult and studying with teachers. A lot of people, at least I've met, my students, my friends, who were blessed to have a continuation of ancestral medicine in their household, whether it's curanderismo or Celtic medicine. I actually have a friend like that. So this class is for people of all backgrounds to really talk about the process of how we remember, how we come back into relationship with those ways, those plants, those traditions, those ceremonies that probably were in our lineages for generation and generation, right? And then maybe there's been one generation of separation, or several, depending again on our person, our story, right? Our family story, whether it was however we lost that connection. But I got very passionate about, the importance of Mexican herbalism, but I'm also very passionate and a believer that, these ways that sustain the life of our communities, of our ancestors, the herbs, the practices, like those actually have a lot of relevance and importance and application for us today in these times that we face. Because I think a lot of our challenges are because of capitalism out of control and loss of connection with the plants, with the medicine. So anyways, that class will be more will be lecture, but there'll also be exercises. I like to lead people in like guided meditations so they can really imagine like their ancestors a couple hundred years ago, what they were doing, you know, what plants are around them. Because the truth is these memories are still in our DNA of these relationships, whether it's with the plants or the practices or the place. So I really like to help create space, and it's always powerful in a community because I love community work. Everything amplifies. Like I could do my work by myself and there's a certain level I can go, but if I'm in a circle and we're all having the same intention, I don't, you know, maybe that's a law of physics, or I don't know, it's the 100th monkey thing, everything amplifies. So hopefully that space will be a space for people to connect, to explore it, also feel the feelings, because I've led many groups of students through what I call an ancestral medicine project, where I give them this assignment to connect, to research, and then to present, you know, some form of ancestral medicine. And I've become aware that there's different stages that people go through, and sometimes it's grief because of the separation, you know, or it's anger because of this, you know, the things that happen in the family line, whether on a macro level or more of a family level, that cause these ruptures, or just like our loss of our relationship to the natural world, right? Like I mean, we're all herbalists here, so I don't have to tell, I'm preaching to the choir, like that is our innate nature. It's Homo sapiens, right? We are of nature. So I think the more we get separated, the more out of balance we get. So hopefully we'll see what comes with that class, but it will be a space, hopefully, that will give people some inspiration and tools to like move forward in their life with their own exploration of their ancestral medicine as they, you know, after the conference.
Here. Well, I could tell you're going to bring it. So you got to check out the Good Medicine Confluence. Thank you so much for your time, Atava. I did want to point people in your direction. That's ancestralapothecary.com. Am I getting that right from memory?
Yep.
All right, sweet.
Yep. Yeah,
Well,
and my website is my Instagram is @Kurandetics Toolkit.
all right, sweet. Well, I'll be sure to leave links to everyone that spoke today. I'll be sure to leave links to their individual websites and social media handles and whatnot. So really appreciate your time today, Atava. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Kiva Rose, welcome to the Good Medicine Confluence Roundtable. We're chatting about all things about this event, and I know you're huge and instrumental in organizing it. And I want to say this is the 13th one, yeah?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like every time I see how many issues of the magazine we've put out, how many times we've done the conference, I'm like, how did this happen? Because it, you know, we didn't even know if we could get 100 people to show up for the first conference. We didn't know if we could cover our expenses. Like it seemed like such a big risk, especially since the first one was actually in New Mexico, and people were like, don't know if you can do a conference in New Mexico. Like, where even is that? But yeah, it's amazing that it's persisted this long, and through Wolf's health problems and so many other things that have happened, there's been a number of times where we've been like, well, maybe this is the last year because, you know, so many things going on. And then like every year people are so excited and have such amazing experiences that Wolf and I always have this conversation of like, well, shit, maybe we can't stop it. Maybe we have to do it another year, you know, like it's kind of crazy because I don't think either of us ever planned for it to go this long or even turn into anything, you know, of this size or significance. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, you've got to do it for the community. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but I was planning the Brighton Bush Herbal Conference, and I only actually planned it for 1 year. But I have the fortune of being able to just pass it on to someone else.
Yeah.
You and Wolf can't really do that so easily. So you got to keep it rolling.
Yeah, it's definitely like a very intense thing. I mean, it basically is like maybe 75% or 80% of our work, and maybe more, maybe a higher percentage of Wolf's work, especially like every single day. I think a lot of people think that it's more like seasonal than that, but we work on the conference basically every single day. Even the day after the conference ends, we're working on the next one because it's important for us to create a profound experience for people and to keep the community connected year round as well. So it's, it's a full-time thing.
Yeah, the best thing you could hope for as an event planner is everything goes off without a hitch. But then it kind of has like this reverse effect where it looks so easy to do. But if you're attending the Good Medicine Confluence, I would recommend seeking out Kiva or Inga or Wolf or whoever's helping plan this event and just saying thank you, because it takes a lot to plan these events. I should know. I planned events for Mountain Reserves for 10 years. And again, like the best thing you can hope for is just to have everything go off without a hitch. But I got to know what's really exciting you about this upcoming event.
I think that every year we've always had some kind of theme that's emerged, but I'm not sure that we've ever had a year that has such a focus on like this alchemy, not just alchemy as talked about in herbalism, but an alchemy of many different elements coming together. And part of it's because doing it for this long, we've created connections with people who aren't necessarily part of the, quote unquote, herbal community, and pulled in some new people and all these different kinds of viewpoints, whether we're talking about literal alchemy and spagyrics and things like that, if we're talking about nature connection, if we're talking about actual clinical herbalism, if we're talking about nutrition, if we're talking about mythology, archetypes, psychology, and epigenetics, all of these different things coming to it from this approach where it all gets woven together. And that I'm really excited about this year, because it feels like the culmination of a lot of work on Wolf and I's part, and our especially our long-term teachers who have like pulled in new people and pulled together all of these topics so that it all comes kind of seamlessly and creates, like, I mean, Wolf called it a magical potion, I'm calling it alchemy, but like that sort of thing where it's the whole is greater than the parts, that these ingredients come together to create something more. And that's the magic also of people together with plants. And then you put it in a wild location, like on the very border of the wilderness. And I think that adds its own element of, being a catalyst of that magic and alchemy.
Yeah, so well said. I gotta ask, are you teaching this year, or are you just kind of helping out around the event and whatnot?
I am teaching with Inga.
Oh, nice.
With her anemone class, especially about the clinical and medicinal aspects. And then I'm also teaching a class on what is sometimes called in Finnish mythology, the forest blanket, which is a state of enchantment that can happen in the forest. And it might be negative, as in the sense of fairy tales where you get lost in the forest and can't find your way out, or it could be very positive in that you have a transformative and benevolent kind of experience with the forest. But that thing that they talk about in fairy tales and mythology a lot, about experiencing the liminal aspects of the forest. And within that class, I'll be focusing on 3 plants that are quite prominent in a lot of Finnish mythology and folklore, including ground ivy, which is a common weed, but also does have quite a bit of symbolism and medicinal uses. Birch, which is a plant that's become very important to me in the last couple of years, especially. I've always loved it, but it's been very helpful to me medicinally in treating other people. And so I'm really excited to talk about it and its mythology and story aspects. And then also pond lily, or really the Nymphaea genus as a whole, which is another, I mean, it's not unknown in the herbal community, but it's not one of the most well-known or often talked about. And I just think in some places it's quite common, it can be cultivated, and I think it deserves more attention than it gets. So I'm excited to talk about these plants a lot.
That's super exciting. Yeah, I feel like a lot of what you bring to the table is the clinical experience, but then also those storytelling. So that sounds like a really fascinating class. I don't know too much about the yellow pond lily really, but I also want to say it's really special that you're teaching with Inga as well. Have you ever taught with her before?
No, we haven't. I've, she studied with me, and we've talked a lot about herbs, about mythology, about fairy tale stuff, like her whole life, obviously, because I've been fixated since before she was even born, and she grew up with a lot of that. But no, we've never taught together. This is her first in-person class, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. I feel very honored that she asked me to help with it. So
very cool. Well, can you tell us more about a little bit more about the campus and what you're excited about hosting in Colorado this time around?
I'm really excited that we're right on the edge of the wilderness, that it's actually a part of Colorado I'm not as familiar with. I've mostly only been in Western Colorado. I think I've only been in this part of Colorado that we're going to be at like once before. So I'm super excited just to get to know the ecology and the ecosystems there more. I really like that the place that we've chosen to have it is very focused on keeping the wilderness and the land intact. And so it's nice to be outside of a city again for the conference. And like even where people will be eating, it's like right on a river, and they're going to be like surrounded by the outdoors. We have big festival tents. We also have, beautiful buildings. And so I really think it will add to the atmosphere of the event. And I'm really happy to have this opportunity to allow people to experience plant medicine and the whole alchemy of the gathering in the context of such wildness.
Very cool. Well, we've been asking every guest today the same final question. In just a few sentences, what do you consider the purpose or mission of healing to be? And why is it so important that people today learn and practice plant medicine?
I think there's a lot of different answers to this, but for me personally, it's always been about the connection and the relationship between plants and people, and also plants and fungi, or people and the more than human world, basically. Like, we know we're connected to everything else, like from our microbiome to, just the obvious emotional feelings that we have when we're out in nature, or what we learn from science. Like, we know this, but herbalism gives us a way to experience healing in the sense of being more whole through our connections and our relationships to things that are larger than us. And I think it helps us to not only heal in the physical sense, but also in the more psychological and spiritual sense of realizing who we are through those connections. Like, we're bigger than just ourselves, but we also understand the part of us that we think of as just ourselves through that. And so, and for me, that's been one of the most profound experiences of helping other people heal, of working with herbs myself, is that when a plant helps you in any minor way, it doesn't matter if it's bitters for a digestive upset, or if it's like a really profound head experience from something more psychedelic, or if it's just a nervine that's calming you down when you're about to lose your shit at a family event, but it's a sense of an ally or a companion that's helping you. And I don't want to be too woo about it or anything, but it's like,
please go there.
It's like, it's the same sort of feeling that you get when a friend or someone you care about a lot supports you in like this intense way that is very meaningful and has life-changing effects. And I feel that about plants all the time. Not only have they kept myself and family members and clients from being hospitalized, in some cases from dying, which is like profound on its own, right? But it's also massively increased quality of life and given people a sense of being less alone in the world. And I don't know what could be better than that, especially at this time in the world.
Great answer. I don't know where you're going to go out in the order of this, but that almost seems like the perfect way to kind of wrap everything up. So Kiva Rose, thanks so much for joining us on the Good Medicine Confluence. Any kind of final words, either you or Inga or Wolf want to chime in here and kind of wrap up the show?
I just want to say that I'm so excited to see everyone. I feel like this is the first year that I'm really back after recovering from pernicious anemia and having Elfin, and also Wolf is finally recovering from dealing with hepatitis C. And I feel like it's the first time like I'm going to be truly present and like able to connect to people in the last like 5 years. So this feels like a really special event for me in just that specific way. So I'm just so excited to connect to everyone there.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited for herbalism events to be happening, events in
Yes.
general, but we're all starving for that. And really, I want to encourage you, listener, if you're able to make it to whether it's the Good Medicine Confluence or any, even if it's just a plant walk in your local neighborhood, getting out there, interacting with the people and the plants and the plant people is like seriously, it's medicine for the heart and the soul. Herbalism events have drastically influenced and changed my life for the better. You really got to check it out. And honestly, again, check out the Good Medicine Confluence. You can learn more at planthealer.org/gmc.html. I think that's straight from the dome. I don't know if that's correct. I'll leave an actual link in the show notes below. Again, we're teaming up with Plant Healer to give away 4 tickets to the event. So that's pretty sweet. If you want to enter to win, again, the link is in the description below. So thanks y'all so much for listening. Thanks Kiva and all of the teachers that joined me today. I don't even know how many I talked to today. I want to say it was close to 10. Yeah, I really had a great time just kind of learning more about each individual teacher, and y'all will have a blast at the Good Medicine Confluence. So thank you so much.